All right, the last kind of concept with, that I kind of want to talk about in terms of programming and how it relates to C sharp is working with events. Okay, now an event, I've mentioned this in a video a couple back, but just in case you don't remember, an event in programming is when a certain action happens. Okay. So rather than it being launched by the code, usually it's launched by the user. So what I mean by that is like me pressing on my mouse or me hitting a key on my keyboard. That would be like an event. Okay. It doesn't even necessarily even have to be from a user. It could just be something like, if the internet were turned on and your device connects to the internet, that's like an event, or, turning your, phone from portrait to landscape or something like that. So there's a lot of things that are considered events. And then in programming, we have something called an event handler. Event handlers, wait for it, handle the events. Okay. Now, the thing about this is it's like, okay, you guys did this in P5, right? So we had mouse pressed, right? I'm assuming you guys went over this. And I don't know, I'm just gonna do something like, I don't know. I'm gonna have it build a circle, okay, just for things to look cool. So no circle, then I press my mouse. Oops, let's stop that. Let me do it here. No circle, circle. Okay, let's try it again. Wait for my mouse press, code runs. Okay. And we also did something like we could do that with the key pressing. So I don't know. Let's do a square, no code, hit a key on my keyboard, or it's waiting for me to hit my keyboard. I guess I have to click on this first. And then there you go. Okay. Let's try that one more time. I have to hit tab so that I'm there you go. Okay. I had to click to engage, but that set off this part. That's why that was happening. Anyway, my point here is that, we can write code that waits for a user to do something, okay, rather than it just happening automatically through the procedure of the code, okay. Now we can do that in C sharp too. Now I'm going to go to wait for my code, compile. All right, I'm gonna go, I think it's exercise 7. Okay. And I'm gonna go under my drill scripts and let's go to, this is collide. Now we talked about the update, and the update function, what it literally does is it waits every single, or it checks this code every single frame, which for Unity is about 60 times a second. Okay. And what I actually have here is um, I have an if statement. So what there is an if statement, and you can see that there's this is an object. In this case, it's the input object, and it has a function called get key down. And what it means is when someone presses a key down. Now, if I were to do, I believe if I were to do this on its own, and I just add some code here, like let's do a debug log test. I'm gonna go back. I think it's mad because I don't have any. Maybe I do need to have that. It's a key code. I think I do need to have at least something here. what this is saying is which of the keys do I need to press, or what key is it waiting for me to press? Okay. So what this means is that once again, there's an object called key code, and this is a property of key code, which is the space key. Okay. So what this is saying is if someone presses down the space key, I can launch a piece of code. So what I'm going to do is say, okay, debug log, the space bar was pressed. Okay. All right. I'm going to add some code. I'm going to add this to my code here. Oops. Let's not do it in game mode. Okay. And I'm going to hit the space bar or run the world. What's going to happen is I'm going to press different keys on my keyboard, like the Q key, W key, and nothing's happening. But if I hit the space bar, that key is launching it. Okay. Now you can actually, I put this list for you in the options. So you can see like you can call specific keys. So for instance, if I wanted to call, I don't know, just for the sake of argument, the A key, I could do keyboard.a instead of keyboard.space. Let's edit that code. Okay. And a key was pressed. Okay. Now if I go back, I'm gonna hit play. And once again, I'm just going to hit different keys, but nothing happens. But when I press the A key, then it runs. Okay. We can actually kind of do this to kind of, and we could combine this with some of the things we just talked about in terms of transform. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to actually, let's get rid of this script here. And I'm going to add just a little cube. Okay. Oops. I'm going to add a 3D cube. So the scene, and let's just kind of move it. I'm just gonna kind of place it up here for now. All right, let's give it a material. Let's make it, I don't know, green. I guess I have to be in. There you go. All right. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back to this script here, and I'm gonna set up a variable for the X direction. So I'm gonna say, okay, uh, public, doesn't technically have to be public. I'll just make it public. And we'll call it X position or X pos. Okay. And I'm just going to set it to 0 for now. Okay. Then what I'm going to do is whatever object I apply this to, let's do transform dot position, which we learned about in the last one. And I'm going to do a new vector 3. And let's put in that value. Okay. And I don't know. Keep it up in the sky. So something like this. Okay. Let's just make sure this works. So let's go back. And I'm going to apply this to my green cube. Okay. And it's not going to let it move, but it should place it in the center when the game starts or runs. Okay, it does that. Now, what I want to do is I want to use the left arrow and the right arrow to add or subtract from the pos value. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back to that document I was showing you. And I can use left arrow, right arrow. And I'm going to say, instead of it key code, I'm going to do right arrow. Make sure you use the right casing there. And what I'm going to do is, instead of writing to the console, why don't we take the value of position xpos and let's add 1 to it. Okay, so it'd be xpos plus 1. All right. Now, I got to make sure that this is constantly updating the position. So I want to actually put this here as well. All right, so basically every frame it's going to be checking this. Might even want to put this as like the first line of the update. And let's save and go back. And I'm going to hit the play button. Okay. And if I hit the right arrow, you can see I'm using or moving my cube. Okay. Now at the moment I can only go to the, to the right. So what I'm going to do is let's go back and let's do okay, well, if input dot get key down key code dot, let's use the left arrow. And instead of adding to the xpos 1, let's subtract 1. So xpos equals xpos minus 1. Okay. What that should do is take it to the left. Okay. And if I go back, I think I forgot a bracket somewhere. Did I? Yeah, whoops, there's like an extra bracket there. Okay. That should fix that problem, I think. Ooh. All right. So if I press the right arrow, I go to the right, and then I hit the left arrow, I go to the left. Now, at the moment, it's not going to collide with anything because I don't have or at least I don't have a collider on things, and I don't have physics, so it wouldn't, but this is what we can do. Okay. All right, so that's an input like the key, but or the event handler is me hitting a key, but sometimes there's events that happen in your world or your game that don't have to do with you. Like for instance, let's say I have down here an event with called on trigger enter. Okay. Now on trigger enter means when your object collides with something with the trigger. Okay. So let's go back to my world for a second. I have this world, and I'm just going to turn off this green cube for now. We don't need it. And I have this cylinder, and the cylinder has a trigger, and I got this guy, and this has a trigger. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I want there to be code that runs when I hit a particular object. So what I'm going to do is come into here, and I'm going to say, okay, well, if you trigger this, why don't we just, I don't know, debug log, you collided with something. Okay. I'm going to hit save. Now, this should only occur if and only if the object that I apply this to collides with something that has a trigger. Okay. Let's go back. My player in this case should already have the trigger. Or sorry, I should already have the code. So I'm going to add this into here. Okay. And we're just going to not worry about the input because that's not going to affect it at the moment. Actually, I'm going to turn this off. I don't want to use both of these at the moment. So I'm just going to turn this off. That was overriding my keyboard or my there was a different form of movement I had, but I didn't want to overwrite that. Active namespace. Oh, oops, I forgot to let's undo that one. There. All right. So what I'm going to do here is when I go and I hit play, and I go into console. Whoops, what happened? Sorry, I think I double clicked and left the main layout here. Okay, let's try this again. All right, I'm in game mode. I'm going to hit console. I'm going to run. And when I hit this, it should say I collided with something. And the same thing will happen if I hit the other object. In this case, actually, I'm actually hitting that imaginary, uh, I'm accidentally hitting that cube. So I'm actually going to delete it for now. All right, so I hit this, boom, and then I hit the other thing, boom. And then I hit that, boom. Okay. So that's cool and everything. I wrote an event and it does something. Now the problem is it's not very specific. Anytime I hit any object, it's going to run that. So how can I be a little bit more specific? Well, what I could do is I'm going to go back here to the game. And what I'm going to do is add in a game tag, or actually they already have game tags. One has a game tag of cylinder and one has a game tag of cube being applied to it. And what we could do is we can actually add in an if statement that checks to see if the object that I collided with has a specific game tag. So what I could say is, well, okay, I collided with this. Sure, I collided with it, but does it also have, a game tag of cube or something along those lines? Okay. So what I'm going to do is come into here and this is where I'm going to say the other is the thing that you collided with. Does that other game object have a game tag of insert name? In this case, I'm going to put cube and I'm going to say you collided with the cube. Okay. Let's go back. So the point is we're just being a little bit more specific. Not only does it basically has to go through two parts. Did it collide and, did it collide? Did it collide with something with a trigger? And did that thing have a specific game tag? If so, run the following code. Okay. So I'm going to hit, let's go to console. And when I touch this, boom, you can see it did that. But if I hit the cylinder, you'll notice that even though I'm hitting the cylinder, that does not trigger it because the cylinder does not have the game tag of cube being applied to it. But if I go back and I hit this, boom, I get that to work. If I wanted something for the cylinder, well, okay. Why don't we just copy this again? And I'm going to put cylinder here. And you collided with the cylinder. I'm even going to combine this with maybe like a variable like points. Maybe if you hit the cube, that's plus 1 point. If you hit the cylinder, that's minus 1 points. So pub int score equals 0. If I hit the cube, score equals score plus 1. And if I hit the cylinder, score equals score minus 1. Okay, I'm gonna hit save. Now let's go back. And all right, I'm gonna go. Oh, actually, before I do it, let's also print the score. Otherwise, we don't know what it is. So I'm just gonna do a debug log. Debug.log. Your score is, and then let's add in the variable score. Okay. All right, let's try this. All right, I'm gonna hit that. Boom, and I get a score of 1. Oh, yeah, okay. I should have put actually this before this because what happened is this ran, even though it was 1, we couldn't see it. So actually, yeah. I should have done it like that. That would have made it accurate. It's one of these like operation procedural. Let's try it again. This time it should work. That was my bad there. All right, let's try that. Okay. Score, hit the cube, score of 1, back to 0. Let me hit this bad boy again. It should be like a -1. Boom, boom. Okay. All right. So hopefully that gives you an idea of like events. It's very similar to events in P5, which I'm assuming you guys have done at least some very basics of. You know, we are going to, be doing that here and working with that. Um, Yeah, and so the next couple of videos, we'll be talking about working with, these are not specific to code, but working with elements of Unity that might use code, like adding in um, music or user interface kind of stuff. Like it doesn't have to use code, but you may want to add code to it. Okay.